Hi, this is Lorraine. If you'll give me just a second to clear, center, and balance my energy, we'll get started. So I guess I'm just gonna start. When I was clearing my energy, Sebastian just came in, and I have a friend at work who always says funny stuff, and she'll say to people, "You're a mess, but you're a cute mess," or "He's a mess, but he's a cute mess." So Sebastian comes in and says, "You're a mess, but you're a cute mess." So I only have to, I guess you want to, it's just been so intense lately that I just feel like maybe I needed to lighten up a little bit, or he needed me to lighten up a little bit. So he came in with that message, and I just started laughing because the visual was just funny. And the truth is, it's been a messy week, so I've been a little bit of a mess. So, but you just center your energy and you just keep moving forward, right? I mean, life wasn't meant to be easy. We have moments of where things are easy, but we always have challenges placed before us, and it's a learning experience. So that's all it is. That's just dealing with my highs and lows, just keep moving forward. And so the beings in the water, Gladiola, came in also, and they're just laughing, and so I'm laughing with them. And so the message that also came with it was like, everything's okay. Everything's going to be okay. And so I know it doesn't feel like that because there's a lot of stuff going on up here, but they said the message is out. The message got out. Don't worry, everything's going to be okay. And so I take that to heart. So it just kind of changes things a little bit for me. So the messages that come through now for me are not so much about where we're at and where we're going and what's going on. Now it's more about information, teaching and sharing information. And so I don't have, my education is traditional bachelor's, teaching credentials, working with students with disabilities. I have a general ed teaching credential and a special ed teaching credential, working with students with moderate to severe disabilities. And so that's my education. Everything else is just self-taught, channeling, receiving divine guidance, information from angels and guides, as well as just reading. I think one of the best things I learned, having a learning disability, an auditory processing disorder like my daughter, and going to school, college, undergraduate and postgraduate work, taught me how to teach myself, how to learn, because teachers didn't know how to teach me. They didn't have like the special ed programs they have today. They didn't have the training that they had for teachers back then that they had today. So I had to figure out what my accommodations and modifications were. So that's what I did. So now whenever I seek information, I know where and how to do it. I know what I need to get that information in. So all my information that I get about this spiritual awakening that I've been going through is divine, and then as well as what I've learned, self-taught. And so one of the first things I wanted to say was, when I was doing the last video and I was talking about clearing, centering, and balancing your energy and using that torsion field to clear your energy and to protect your energy, the whole intention of that lesson or that information was to show you how to clear, center, and balance your energy and protect your energy. So that was the intention, okay? But what I didn't specifically clearly state is setting an intention, okay? And so anytime I clear, center, and balance my energy, anytime I bring in light energy or I work with light energy, I'm setting an intention. I'm thinking about what I want to do and what I want to achieve. And I went online, I posted something about setting an intention. It was the simplest article I could find, because I haven't written anything personally on my website about that. But setting an intention is not very difficult. It is, it's just thought and a goal, basically what you're trying to do. So when I bring the light in and I bring that plane of light energy down through me and through the bottom of my feet and through Mother Earth, my intention is to clear my energy, center my energy, balance my energy, right? Clear, center, and balance Mother Earth. That's my intention. When I put that torus field around me, and I am encompassed within that torus, I am working on protecting my energy. So I'm setting that intention to protect my energy. But if I take it a step further, okay, and we'll build on that, we can set other intentions, make requests, ask for information. And so when I'm clearing, centering, and balancing my energy, I've done this before, and I've talked to you about what I do. I'll say, please help me to clear, center, and balance my personal energy, my space, and the surrounding areas. And so I'm looking at my physical body, this immediate area, and all the surrounding areas outside of that, because I live in an apartment building, so I'm thinking about my next door neighbors, right? I'm clearing all the space, and I'm setting up a protective field, because I don't want information coming from outside sources. I'm setting the intention to clear my space, but also receiving information solely from the higher self, solely from the divine. I'm not trying to reach out to other places or get outside information, okay? I also ask to help me be the person I'm meant to be on this world in this lifetime. I ask, please infuse me with light energy, okay? I ask, please help me to speak in a way that people can hear. Help me to use language that people can hear. Help me to be clear and concise. So as I'm going through clearing, centering, and balancing my energy, those are all intentions I'm setting. I'm asking for help, and I'm setting the intention to achieve those goals. Okay, so that's all happening as I'm clearing my energy. I've also worked on maintaining clear, centered, and balanced energy. I worked on having that torsion field, moving the light in me and around me all the time. So I used to wake up every day and I would set that intention to have that protective field around me all the time. Every moment that I thought about it throughout the day, I would set the intention to have that protective field around me all the time, even when I'm not thinking about it, even when I'm not making that request. Okay, so I'm always setting that intention. So another thing I wanted to bring up was, okay, so how do I have these energetic attacks? So that happened even though I set the intention to set up to have this protective field around me. So I think it was about a couple months ago, I had said that I had a health issue, and my daughter had gone into anaphylactic shock like a week later, and my hand swelled up, my feet swelled up. It was really bad. My joints were hurting. They thought I had rheumatoid arthritis, all this stuff. And so I had to go through all these tests, but it turned out it was none of those things. But how does that happen when I'm setting up this protective field? Well, how does that field get dropped? How does that field become weak? When I'm projecting negative energy or negative thoughts, okay? It's not just about me speaking negatively. It's, or being judgmental. It's also those thoughts. So it doesn't have to be just a physical act or a verbal act that people can witness. It can be just thoughts. And so since I've been dealing with some stuff with my ex-husband, I've had some not so wonderful thoughts. And it has affected that protective field around me. So what I do is whenever I feel myself moving out of center, I make a conscious effort, thought, intention to protect my energy. I make a conscious request to help move my thoughts back into center, to release the frustration. That's the biggest thing. Release the frustration I feel about somebody else's behavior that I can't control, okay? Because I can't control his behavior. No matter how I try to be respectful and kind, no matter how I try to honor the situation, which also involves my kids, our kids, it doesn't matter how reasonable I am. I can't affect how he responds to that, right? And so because of that, I get frustrated because I feel like I'm trying to be respectful, because I feel like I'm trying to honor my children as well as my ex-husband, and I continue to be attacked in some way. I get frustrated, and then those thoughts go, even though my behavior's on point, the thoughts are going crazy, right? So that is how those I create little tears, I guess you could say, in that protective field, and that energy finds its way in. Okay, so, but as soon as it happens, I'm moving myself into center, right? I'm moving myself back into center. So I just kind of wanted to explain that so you understand, as diligently as I work and maybe other people work, that anytime our thoughts go to a negative place, it doesn't have to be a physical act, I can become vulnerable to that negative energy, okay? But also, that being said, the positive energy that I'm putting out, okay, the goodness that I'm putting out protects me from a very serious attack, okay? Those attacks could be much worse. But I consider them very benign. But they still come in. And I get a little frustrated, but that's just part of life, right? That's part of the highs and lows. You know, life isn't supposed to be easy. This is a learning experience, okay? And I know I work towards being as balanced as I can, but I know I'm not perfect. And so I don't beat myself up for not being perfect. So I just wanted to talk a little bit more about setting an intention. And also I think it's important to point out that imperfection of myself, and how maybe even though you might set up these protective fields, how there might be some underlying negativity that might be able to get through. So I'm gonna do talk about one thing as far as asking questions. Okay, I just want to touch on that really quick. So as I clear, center, and balance my energy, set up that protective field, I can also ask for divine guidance. And although at this point, as soon as I close my eyes, just information comes in, I don't have to ask. That's because I'm very fluent in the language of the universe. And actually, I'm going to do a class on this. I'm going to do a Zoom class through an organization at the end of May, the last week of May, first week of June, about understanding the clairs. Because once you learn the language of the universe, there's messages around. all the time, everywhere. You have messages coming in. There's divine guidance helping you on your path, okay? But first you have to learn how to speak the language and read the language, understand the language, right? So at this point, you know, being, if you're just coming into this, some people we're all at different levels of spiritual awakening. But if you're just coming into this, like I was when I took that first Psychic 1 class, that meditation class, and you've never really kind of sat with your thoughts and made a request and felt and listened to the information that came to you, when you clear, center, and balance your energy, and if you use the technique that I mentioned in my last video, as you're sitting and you're clearing and you're visualizing, it's really important to just be quiet. When you become more fluent with what you're doing and how you're doing it, you could have construction work going on around you. You can have people sitting all around you, and you'll still be able to receive the information because you are more skilled. But if you're first coming into this, I just would encourage you to, when you're clearing, centering, and balancing your energy, to have like a quiet space, or maybe a headset with some meditation music playing that just kind of filters out everything else, so that you can just sit, clear your energy, be quiet, and just allow the information to come in. So if you don't understand the clairs, it's very difficult to read that information coming in. But so first what we'll do is we'll just ask a question. So as I sit here and I clear, center, and balance my energy, let me ask a question. So the other day I had information come in, and it was about the 4 elements: wind, fire, air, water, and this unification of all of these things: wind, fire, air, water, and ether. And as I sat with that and it was coming in, I was like, what does that mean? What is this message for me? And I knew what the message was. I felt it, but I actually made that conscious question. I asked that conscious question as I started seeing wind, the water, fire, earth. I'm like, what does this mean? And what I was told is, it is the unification of all with ether. And so we've always seen the 4 elements as separate from us, right? We see the wind blowing as weather, right? We see the earth shaking as earthquakes, right? Mountains that we climb, right? Fire we use as a tool, right? Water also as a tool for travel, for food sustenance. So these are things that were outside of us, but now what's happening is ether, us, soul, light, energy, is being unified with these elements, and it is transitioning the planet. Okay, so we've always seen ourselves separate from the animals, from the earth, from God. And now all the elements on the planet are being unified. And so that was the message that I received. Okay. So it actually, as the information's coming in, I asked, that was more of a clarifying question that I asked. But as you clear your energy, You sit quietly, you ask the question, and see what comes in, okay? Feel what comes in. So I actually visually saw the wind blowing, the water rising, fire, volcanoes, and earthquakes, earth shaking. And I saw myself as part of that, working in unison with that, right? Being part of it, meaning causing it, okay? The collective consciousness, fear, anger, bitterness, when we come from that place, we create the discord in the elements, okay? If we come from love, kindness, compassion, tolerance, unity, right? This source unification energy, all those things become calm, okay? They become our tools of survival, right? The weather, we need the seasons to change for the soil, for plants to grow, blossom, die, decompose, feed the soil to create fertile soil for the next growing season, right? So this is all part of a process that works together. And we, through our consciousness, can affect that process in the best way possible, okay? So the sick and illness of the earth is a direct result or response of our consciousness as a people, okay? And that's not our fault. I'm not going to say we are in not the greatest of places, but we have been directed to that negativity, okay, through manipulation. That's all falling away. But the vision was about the unification of the elements and of ether, which will create a beautiful world, okay? And so back to the original, I asked the question, just the clarifying question about what does this mean? The huge winds I'm seeing and the big fires and the volcanoes and all that. What does that mean? And that was the response I got. So it came in visual mostly, and it came in feeling in my body, clairsentience, okay? And so when you have these, when you ask the question, sit, and what comes into your mind's eye, okay? What do you feel in your body? Do you hear anything? Do you smell anything? Do you taste anything? Right? Those are all your clairs. And learning the language is, what is clairvoyance? What voyance? What is a vision? What is clairaudience? What is hearing sound? Right? What is claircognizance? The knowing. What is clairsentience? The feeling. Okay, information that comes in the way of a feeling. And so just really quick, I'm just going to say clairvoyance, it can be physical manifestations, visual physical manifestations in front of you, or your mind's eye, right? So when people say it's in my, I see this in my mind's eye, how I would describe that would be like a daydream. Like you're sitting at work or you're at school and you're thinking to yourself thinking about your Hawaiian vacation or your vacation skiing or wherever you're going, sailing. You're visualizing that in your mind's eye, right? You see it. You're not seeing it in front of you, but you can see it in your mind. That's how information comes to me when it comes in my mind's eye. So when I started seeing the wind blowing and the volcanoes, that was in my mind's eye, okay? And I know some people might say, oh, that's just your thoughts. I'm like, no, that's learning the language, discerning between a daydream and clairvoyance, okay? That's the first thing. But it gets more complex than that. It becomes more complicated. And I'm going to get into this more in the class. I can't it'll take, I could take hours explaining this and giving examples of this. But one of the things I realized when I took that meditation class, that Psychic 1 class, and I used to meditate and I would beat myself up all the time because I'm like, oh, my mind, I'm daydreaming, my mind's wandering. And then one day I was sitting there. I was meditating, I was laying down. And I was like, oh my God, those are not daydreams. Those are not like random thoughts. These are possible future outcomes. These things that I was seeing in my mind when I was daydreaming, my mind wasn't wandering. These were visions. This was clairvoyance. These are possible outcomes for future events. And sorry. I realized these are future outcomes for possible future outcomes for future events. And as soon as I opened my eyes, and another intention I had set, that I would center my energy and calm my energy enough that I would be able to see an angel. Because when I first had my spiritual awakening, I was told that to see an angel you had to vibrate at a very high level, because angels vibrated at a high level, so you had to match their vibration, right? So there was two things happening. I was working really hard and meditating to center my energy so that I would be good at meditating, and so good at meditating that I could see an angel. And as I was going into that meditation, and I realized that my mind wasn't wandering, that these were possible future outcomes, I was like, oh my God. And I opened my eyes, and I was laying down, and Angel Raphael was right over me. And he had both his hands on either side of my shoulders. I was laying down, and he was leaning over me, and his hair was down over his face like this. And he had a goatee, and I couldn't see his eyes. They were so bright. They were so bright. And I remember thinking to myself, he looks like Chris Cornell. I couldn't see if he had green eyes though, but he had curly dark hair. He didn't have a shirt on, and he had his hands were on either side, and the light around him was so bright. It was so bright white light, and all I could feel was just intense love, and he was just sharing so much love with me, and he was so proud of me. He was so proud of me that I had made that connection. And I saw him. He was like right there, like physically right over me, both hands on either side of me, just like. And I jumped up out of my bed, and I started running around yelling, I saw you, I saw you, I saw you. He stayed there for about, I guess, 5 seconds maybe. It wasn't a really long time. He didn't hang out. But it was pretty intense. It was pretty amazing. And I had those experiences quite a lot when I first had my spiritual awakening. But that doesn't really happen anymore. Once it was clear what was happening. Once I used to see the lights, I saw all kinds of stuff. Once I had that connection, they didn't need to physically manifest in front of me anymore. I just, claircognizance, clairsentience, clairvoyance in my mind's eye, just hear that. I don't need physical manifestations to prove anything to me anymore. People want proof. I didn't need that anymore. So I don't really have a lot of physical manifestations. If I have things physically manifesting, they're ETs. They're just ETs that come into my house. That's it. Beings of love and light that come into my house. That's it. They're physically on this plane. And I don't want to start differentiating between angels and what that was, and beings of love and light coming into my room. That's just, it gets to be too much. But I'll just say that. So that's part of my journey and path that I'm sharing with you to help open you up, to help you start to be able to first access this information, but be able to identify what the messages are and how they come through to you. Okay, so clear centering and balancing your energy, setting the intention to clear center and balance your energy, to protect your energy, and then also setting an intention of what you want to manifest in your life. Okay, asking questions to help you receive divine guidance. Okay, but please always protect your energy. It's so important to protect your energy, because if you're not coming from a clear centered and balanced place, then that negative energy can come in and start manipulating you, manipulating your thoughts, and it's very subtle. Okay, it'll be very subtle. So it's very important to maintain clear centered and balanced energy always, and put up a protective field. Also, I'm going to just say, because I brought this up, asking questions and opening yourself up to that energy, any type of drugs, alcohol, anything that affects your consciousness, even prescription medication, if it affects your consciousness, it opens you up to manipulation. Okay, once your consciousness becomes hazy, it's difficult to have balanced energy. It's difficult to have clear energy if your thoughts aren't clear. Okay, your thoughts need to be clear. Your consciousness needs to be clear in order to maintain clear, centered, and balanced energy. And that includes toxins in your food. That includes toxins in water, or soda is not very good for you. There's a lot of chemicals in there. I think the most toxic thing I eat or ingest would be coffee, because it has caffeine in it, but it has a 2-hour cycle. It moves out of your system. I never drink coffee before I do readings, if on days that I do readings, or I wait at least 4 hours, even though it only goes through, it's only in your system for a couple hours. I'll wait at least 4 hours before I do a reading, or I won't have coffee. I don't drink. I have maybe 1 or 2 drinks a year. And so it's just something that I have consciously chosen not to do. Drinking or anything that affects my consciousness. I've consciously chosen certain types of food that I eat. I don't drink soda. I drink water and coffee. That's pretty much it, or fresh juice. That's pretty much it. And so I made that conscious effort because I work to maintain clear, centered, and balanced energy. It's so important for me to have clear, centered, and balanced energy. Me personally, that's how I feel, because I receive messages all the time. All the time I have messages coming in. Synchronicities happening all the time. So it's very important that I maintain clear, center, and balanced energy, and that's something I have consciously chosen to do in my life. Okay, that's my choice. I'm making you aware of this truth that if you're going to do this, it's very important that you do it. If you open yourself up to energies coming into your space for guidance, you want to make sure it's from a place of love and light. And the best way to do that is to make sure that you protect your energy, so that only the energy you choose to come in is coming in. The second that you're in that protective field gets tears in it, it allows negative energy to come in. Okay, and alcohol or drugs, toxic food, chemicals, all those things will put little tears in that torsion field, okay, in that protective field that you have around you. So I just wanted to point that out and make sure you are working to that end, to maintain clear, centered, and balanced energy, and to protect your energy, and what you need to do to protect your energy. I need to make sure you have the information necessary to make sure you can protect your energy, okay? Now, I know first exposure to this type of stuff, it seems so complex, but it's very simple. Once you kind of get the nuts and bolts of it, it's very simple, and then you build on that for you. So this is what works for me, and this is how I started. So I'm giving you these tools as a starting place, but you build and you grow, and you make it what you want. It becomes what works best for you, okay? So just take what works for you, let the rest go. But always make sure that you're maintaining clear, centered, and balanced energy, and make sure you have a protective field around you, okay? And I just wanted to touch on, I think 2 videos ago, I was talking about the Raptors, and Merlin is their most senior spiritual advisor or spiritual energy in their community. Sebastian is their most senior military officer, and my friend, I call him my friend, is their diplomatic, their highest ranking government official, like I would say the President of the United States or something like that, right? He's the highest ranking for their people. And I said it was a coincidence that they're all male, and then that the beings in the water were very female. And I shouldn't have said that, because I don't believe in coincidences. I only believe in synchronicities. Everything is a synchronicity. And so I think at this time, and so I think that was misleading when I said that. Maybe I was just caught up in the moment, because I don't believe in coincidences. But the beings, the Raptors are very masculine energy right now, and the beings in the water are very feminine. And you might expect that from a water and earth, but maybe that's appropriate right now for what this world is going through. But I don't want to get into the social structures of these 2 civilizations, because I believe there's a very a reason why the males are in these 3 roles within the Raptor community, but I can't really build on that right now. And there is a reason why the main energy that's communicated with me from the beings in the water, Gladiola, is a female, but I don't want to start going into that. We're not ready at this place in Transcendence to go into that type of depth of information, okay? But the females do play a very important role in the Raptor society. The males play a very important role in the for the beings in the water, and males and females play very important roles in humanity. The problem that's happened now for humanity is the roles have been blurred, and it's created huge destabilization of our society and our culture. So one of the another thing I bring up, or I talk a lot about, is manifesting, the law of attraction, karma, and I use them interchangeably almost. If you look them up, they're a little different, but they're not very different. I had to look up and read about why they're different. So karma is more about physical acts of, whether it's positive or negative, verbal, positive or negative, that comes back around. So if I do something good, help someone with their groceries, that positive act will come back around to me. If I do something harmful to someone, that negative act will come back around to me, okay? Or I say something positive or negative, right? Either the positive or negative will come back to me. The law of attraction is more about thought. So if I think something positive or negative, if I think something positive, then positive, I'll bring that positive thing into my life. If I think something negative, I'll bring the negative thing into my life. Okay? So what's interesting, or the irony of it, is there is no difference between thought or action. Okay? There is no difference between whether I think something negative or positive or do something negative or positive. Something negative or positive is going to come back to me. And so as we move through transcendence, we're going to start to understand that just because you don't say it and you only think it, that there is accountability for that. There are consequences for that. People think because if they just say it or they behave in a certain way and they keep their thoughts to themselves, that everything's okay. That's never been the case. But now we're coming into that truth of knowing and understanding that. And so there is a thing called or a theory or a experiment. Actually, I think it's a formula, the double slit experiment, where they talk about particles of energy. And I'm not going to go into that right now. I'm not a physicist, and this is not my strong area. Science has never been strong for me, a strong area for me. But I have read a lot about it, so I understand how our thoughts create our reality and how the particles of energy are affected by our thoughts. And so that's also going to be part of the class, but I wanted to bring that up because all these parts come together in helping us understand our world and how we create our reality. Okay? And that's actually what the class is going to be about. But the last video I talked about how all these things are very complex, and explaining it would take a long time. And then in the description I said it's all the dogma and all the things we've been taught that make it complex, but once you understand it, it's very simple. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to do and what I'm going to do in this class. But what I'm trying to do is explain the parts of this awakening, what we're going through. There are many parts that all come together to help us transcend. And the parts separate just seem so convoluted. But if you can understand each little part in its most basic format, and then understand how all those parts work together, it's very simple. It's very simple. But first you have to understand the parts, and that can be a little bit overwhelming. But actually it's very simple. And because I don't have the strongest background in quantum physics, I think I can break it down in a way that I understand, that most people can understand, so you can use that tool, that understanding and that knowing, and integrate it into the clairs and manifesting. Okay? Manifesting your reality, creating your reality, and how those things work together. But I just wanted to touch on that because I feel like the last video I did was, I said, oh, it's super complex, and then I said, really, it's very easy. And it is a little complex, it is easy, but first you have to understand the parts and how the parts work together before you can utilize them as tools to help you manifest, create your reality, and find your path and your purpose and drive forward from that place. And that's where we all are right now, is understanding this transition, understanding what that means, and what tools are available to us to help us on this during this transition, and how we can create the reality that we want in this world. A lot of people are still coming from the dogma of religion, but I think if people who are super connected spiritually, and I used to pray all the time. I used to pray the rosary. I would pray to my grandmother. I would pray to God. I prayed to my Uncle Dan, who I was very close to, and then at my grandfather as I felt more connected spiritually. because my grandfather was a little bit stoic, so I wasn't really close to him, but I loved him and I adored him and I respected him. But as I became more spiritually connected, I understood where he was and what his role was in my life, on my path and purpose. So it opened me up to connect to him more, right? And so we became very close after he passed. But that connection first came from my spiritual upbringing in religion, okay? And my reaching out to my grandmother and reaching out to my grandfather and my uncle and God. And I realized by reaching out to my grandmother, she was one of my guides. She's been one of my guides over many lifetimes. And I was reaching out to a guide without even knowing it, right? And she opened me up like nobody's business. Like she was like the driving force opening me up spiritually. And so each of us who are coming from the dogma of religion, especially very spiritual people who pray, just because you're praying is through the dogma of religion, some religion, whether it's Christianity, Buddhism, Hindu, Muslim, whatever your religious foundation, it doesn't matter. If it opens you up spiritually to connecting to a higher power, to any energies that you feel connected to, that's the first step in opening up. Okay, and once you start opening up and you're like, now what? Because now you're getting all this weird information that's contradictory or different than what you were raised in, and now you're starting to feel guilty, like maybe you're betraying someone, but the information is undeniable. Like for me, when I was meditating and I saw the lights, I used to see lights and I saw, oh my God, all kinds of stuff. But having Raphael appear in front of me, that's like profound stuff. And so it's like, now what do I do, right? So I just want to help people have the tools that they need to start directing themselves on their path and purpose, because you're not leaving behind anything. You're not disrespecting your faith or your family. You're growing and you're building on what you already have. The dogma of religion is the foundation that you are given in this life to build upon, okay, to grow from. Okay, let's see things from a new, different perspective and become more spiritual, more connected to our divine roots. Okay, that is what this is about right now, this transcendence, becoming more connected to those divine roots and understanding them from a different perspective, and then growing, okay, and fortifying and intensifying that relationship, okay, with all things, including the divine. Okay? So I feel like right now this information is the best information to help us go through this next phase of transcendence, because all the negativity on the surface, all the stuff happening in the inner earth is all kind of petering out. We've already reached the crescendo of negativity, and now everything's starting to fall away. All the negativity is starting to fall away. And so as that happens, we're going to go through some massive changes, but the best way for us to move through those changes is to fortify our connection with the divine, with the higher self. See the world from a different perspective. See this world from a different perspective. Something new and different and beautiful is coming in. So let's open ourselves up to that. And as we open ourselves up to that, we open ourselves up to abundance. As we open ourselves up to the divine to each other, to the beauty of this world and all parts of it, not just humans, but air, fire, water, earth, ether, all beings, all energy, all the balance of nature, from the earth, the insects, the water, all beings in the water, all beings on the surface of the earth, all walks of life, the air that we breathe, the trees that I climbed as a kid, right? The mountains, all these things, as we open up to our connection to these things and what it means for us to have healthy, beautiful fruit and vegetables, healthy, beautiful animals roaming the countryside, birds flying, flowers growing, bees pollinating, right? What does that mean for us when all this ecosystem that we live in is healthy and beautiful, and we are part of that healthy, beautiful ecosystem? What happens when we are living in harmony with that? That's where we're going to, okay? That's what we're moving towards, right? So let's see the world from a different perspective and connect through the higher self and the divine and move to that place. Only good things come from that place. Only beauty comes from that place. Only harmony comes from that place. Unconditional love comes from that place. And that's where we're moving, okay? So take what you can from this video, let the rest go, and just be in the moment, be in the now. Live from a place of love and light. Show love, compassion, kindness, tolerance to the world around you. And move with Mother Earth to balance. Father Sun is putting a very huge, strong protective field around Mother Earth. That's another thing I'll just bring up really quick. I'm sorry, I was getting ready to end, but one of the things I saw when that fire, water, air, earth came in, and then ether, that connection, that vision I had that I told you at the beginning of the video, I also saw this figure 8 around Mother Earth and Father Sun, and it's also the infinity symbol. And this interconnectedness, they're intertwined, and Father Sun is protecting Mother Earth, and just like the mother takes care of and nurtures the children, the father protects the space and the family, right? Father Sun is protecting Mother Earth. Mother Earth is protecting her children. Okay, that was a very strong, clear clairvoyance vision that I had. Mother Earth is moving to balance. Nothing is going to stop it. Nothing will stop it. All right, that's it. Thank you.